Before the earth even began to form, there was one man whose story was hidden from the world. A story so powerful it could shatter everything you thought you knew about creation, about God, about the universe itself. What if I told you that Enoch, a mere mortal, was shown the blueprint of the cosmos by its creator? A man who walked so closely with God that death could not touch him. He was taken. But taken where? What secrets did he uncover, and why have they been kept from us for so long? What if the truth about Enoch has been buried, hidden from our eyes for millennia, just waiting to be unearthed? Have you ever wondered what he truly saw, what was revealed to him in the heavens? Was there more to his ascension than we've been told? Could it be that his journey holds the key to understanding not only the creation of the world, but the deepest mysteries of existence? In this video, you're about to dive into a truth that's been concealed for centuries. You will learn how Enoch's journey through the heavens wasn't just a fantastical tale, but a divine revelation that could change the way we view creation itself. We're going to unravel the cosmic blueprint that God shared with Enoch, the secrets of the universe, and how these revelations are directly tied to the fate of humanity. What he was shown, and what he was chosen to record, might just be the most important knowledge you will ever encounter. Imagine standing before the Creator himself, being shown the intricacies of the universe, the stars, the earth, the angels, and understanding it all. That was Enoch's reality. His story wasn't just about walking with God. It was about seeing the world as it truly was, the divine blueprint of the cosmos. So why wasn't this knowledge shared with the world? Why is Enoch's story kept in the shadows? Is there more we need to learn from this divine messenger? Are you ready to step into the unknown and discover the truth that lies hidden, waiting to be revealed? Stay with me as we explore Enoch's journey and uncover the hidden knowledge that can forever change your perspective on life, creation, and your place in the universe. This is a revelation like no other. And as you listen, know that this story is not just for Enoch, it's for you too. Let's dive in and explore the secrets of the cosmos together. The revelation of Enoch. Why he was chosen. Before the beginning of time, before the earth took its first breath, there was a man who walked with God. A man whose story transcends the boundaries of history and reaches into the very heart of the divine. But why was Enoch chosen? What made him worthy of a journey so profound, so filled with cosmic revelations that even the angels themselves didn't fully understand? This is the secret that the world has overlooked for millennia. Imagine for a moment standing before the Creator of all things, the one who formed the stars and shaped the mountains, looking you in the eye and saying, "You are the one who will carry the knowledge of the universe." Enoch, a simple man, was entrusted with this unimaginable task. He was chosen not for his power or his wealth, but for his devotion, his intimate walk with God. He was not a king or a prophet. He was a man who knew the heart of God, and that made him extraordinary. His path wasn't paved by earthly success, but by a deep, unshakable faith and a willingness to listen to the whispers of heaven. What if we told you that Enoch's journey was not just about him? What if this story, this divine mission, was meant for all of us? Enoch was the link between humanity and the divine, and through his walk with God, he was given a glimpse into the secrets of existence itself. This knowledge, once revealed to him, wasn't meant to remain hidden. It was meant to transform the lives of all who would listen. The question is, are we ready to listen? Enoch's story wasn't just about being chosen, it was about understanding the magnitude of what it means to walk in alignment with God's purpose. He didn't just get a glimpse of heaven, he didn't just see the stars from afar. He stood in the presence of the Almighty and was shown the very blueprint of creation. But why was he chosen for this extraordinary task? Was it because of his righteousness? Was it because of his deep connection to God? Or was there another reason, something deeper, something more profound, that we too must discover? It is said that God chose Enoch because he walked with him. He didn't just live for God, he lived with God. Every step, every moment of his life was in alignment with God's will. And through that, Enoch became the perfect vessel for divine knowledge. He was a man whose heart was open, whose spirit was in tune with heaven. His life was a testament to what happens when we truly surrender ourselves to God's will. When we look at Enoch, we see a man who didn't just live in the world, he transcended it. He became a beacon of divine truth, a messenger of things hidden from the eyes of men. But we must ask ourselves, what does it mean for us? How can we, like Enoch, walk so closely with God that we too can be vessels of divine revelation? Enoch's story invites us into a deeper connection with the Creator, a deeper understanding of the world and the universe that surrounds us. The Cosmic Blueprint. Enoch's divine journey. As Enoch ascended through the heavens, he saw things that no human eye had ever beheld. The universe, vast and mysterious, unfolded before him. The stars, the angels, the creation of all things, it was all laid out before him, as if God had opened the doors to the very heart of creation itself. But what did Enoch see? And more importantly, what did he learn? Through Enoch's eyes, we begin to understand the true scope of creation. It wasn't just about the earth we walk on or the sky above us. It was about everything. Every star, every planet, every angel, and every force of nature had its purpose in God's divine plan. Enoch saw the cosmos as a carefully crafted masterpiece, where every detail, no matter how small, was part of a grand design. This blueprint, hidden from the eyes of men, was now revealed to him. Enoch saw the foundation of the heavens and the earth, the light that separated the darkness, the waters that formed the oceans, the air that breathed life into the land. He saw the paths of the sun and the moon, the stars that filled the night sky, and the angels who were entrusted with guarding the creation. He saw it all, and with every revelation, he grew in understanding of the Creator's divine will. But what makes this story so powerful is not just the knowledge Enoch gained, it's the lesson we learn from it. Enoch's journey teaches us that creation is not random. It is not an accident or a series of chaotic events. It is a masterpiece, carefully crafted by God, and every part of it is connected. Just as every star in the sky has its place, so do we. Every moment of our lives, every step we take, is part of God's divine plan. And like Enoch, we are called to walk in alignment with that plan. But here's the question: how often do we forget this truth? How often do we walk through life as though the universe is just a series of random events? How often do we lose sight of the fact that we are part of a grand and beautiful design, created with purpose and meaning? Enoch's story invites us to remember. It calls us to step back and look at the world through God's eyes, to see the beauty and purpose in every moment, every creation, and every life. The secret revelation: angels, fallen and redeemed. One of the most striking parts of Enoch's journey is the revelation he received about the angels. These heavenly beings, who were entrusted with guarding the creation, were not as pure as we may think. In Enoch's vision, he saw the rebellion of the Watchers, the angels who abandoned their divine role and descended to earth to take human wives. This act of rebellion led to the birth of the Nephilim, a race of giants who brought chaos and destruction to the earth. But what Enoch saw was not just the downfall of these angels, it was a glimpse into the nature of sin itself. The rebellion of the Watchers was not just about lust or disobedience, It was about the corruption of divine order. These angels, once pure and holy, chose to forsake their role in God's plan and instead brought chaos to the earth. The Nephilim, the offspring of these fallen angels, were a direct result of this rebellion. Their strength and power were unmatched, but their actions were destructive. And yet, even in the midst of this rebellion, there is a glimmer of hope. For Enoch's journey did not end with judgment. It ended with redemption. Despite the fallen angels' sin, Enoch was shown a way forward. Through his mission, he became the bridge between humanity and the divine, the messenger who would deliver the judgment of God to the fallen ones, but also the one who would offer hope for redemption. This is the message that Enoch's story brings to us today. Even in the darkest moments of our lives, when we feel that all hope is lost, God is still at work. He is still revealing his divine plan, still offering a way out of the darkness. Enoch's story reminds us that no matter how far we may fall, God's grace is always within reach. All we have to do is turn back to him and walk in his light. As we look at the world around us, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. We see the chaos, the brokenness, the pain, and it's easy to forget that we are part of a greater plan. But Enoch's journey invites us to remember. It calls us to rise above the darkness and walk in the light of God's truth. It reminds us that we are not alone and that God is always with us, guiding us, revealing his divine plan for our lives. So, as you reflect on Enoch's journey, ask yourself this: are you ready to see the world through God's eyes? Are you ready to walk in alignment with his divine plan? Are you ready to be part of the cosmic masterpiece that he is creating? Enoch's story is not just his story, it is our story. And like Enoch, we are all called to walk with God, to listen to his whispers, and to carry his divine knowledge into the world. The question is, are we ready to accept the call? The secret history of the fallen angels. Enoch's journey wasn't just about walking with God. It was about witnessing the greatest betrayal in heaven, one that would forever alter the course of creation. Enoch saw the fall of the Watchers, angels entrusted with protecting humanity, who instead chose to abandon their divine mission and descend to earth. The rebellion of these celestial beings wasn't a small act. It was a cosmic fracture, a rift that would send shockwaves throughout the heavens and earth for generations. These angels, led by their fallen leader Samyaza, saw the beauty of human women and, driven by lust, defied the very order of creation. They came to earth, took human wives, and produced a race of giants known as the Nephilim. Their presence on earth wasn't just about power. It was the introduction of chaos into a world meant to live in divine order. Their actions corrupted humanity, twisting it into something unrecognizable. But their downfall wasn't just about sin. It was about the corruption of divine knowledge. These Watchers didn't just disobey, they brought forbidden knowledge to humanity. They taught men the arts of war, how to forge weapons of destruction. They taught women how to adorn themselves with cosmetics and jewelry, tools to deceive. They unleashed the power of sorcery and astrology, introducing mankind to forces they were never meant to control. This wasn't just rebellion, it was the release of chaos into the world, a force that would change everything. Enoch, chosen to be the messenger between heaven and earth, saw it all. He witnessed the consequences of the Watchers' sin and the corruption it brought with it. But more importantly, he saw the way that God responded to it. Enoch's journey through the heavens wasn't just about witnessing the fall, it was about receiving the divine verdict. The Watchers would face judgment. Their offspring, the Nephilim, would be destroyed. And the earth, corrupted by their presence, would be cleansed. But here's the lesson we need to grasp from Enoch's story. The fall of the Watchers wasn't just a historical event, it was a warning. we too are capable of choosing rebellion over divine order. In the same way that the Watchers defied their purpose, we often rebel against God's design for us. We look to the world and let our desires lead us astray, just as they did. And just as they brought chaos to the earth, we too can allow chaos to take root in our own lives. But here's the hope. Just as God judged the Watchers and their offspring, he also provided a way for redemption. Enoch, the scribe of righteousness, was the messenger of both judgment and mercy. Through him, God showed that while there is judgment for sin, there is also a way back to divine order. We may stumble, but God's grace is always waiting for us, ready to restore what was lost. Enoch's story isn't just about the fall, it's about the opportunity for redemption, the chance to realign with God's divine purpose. Enoch's divine mission, the scribe of righteousness. Enoch wasn't just a passive observer, he was chosen to be a messenger, a bridge between heaven and earth. And what a mission he had. He was tasked with delivering God's judgment to the fallen angels, pronouncing their sentence, and bringing a message of divine justice. But this wasn't just about punishment, it was about setting the stage for restoration. Imagine standing before the Watchers, the very beings who had once stood at the gates of heaven, now humbled and ashamed. Enoch, a mortal man, stood before them as their judge. The angels who once wielded great power and influence were now powerless before the scribe of righteousness. Enoch read their sentence, and it was final. They would be bound and cast into the deepest corners of the earth, awaiting the day of their ultimate judgment. But here's the powerful truth behind Enoch's mission. It wasn't just about condemning the Watchers, it was about showing them the path to redemption. When Enoch delivered the divine judgment, it wasn't an end. It was an opportunity for repentance. God, in his justice, provided a way for them to return to him. The Watchers had fallen, but they still had the opportunity to repent, to turn back to God and be restored. Enoch's mission was not just a proclamation of doom, it was an invitation to come back to the divine order. This is where we too find our hope. Just as the Watchers were given a chance to repent, so are we. We may fall, we may stray from God's path, but there is always an opportunity to turn back. Enoch's role as the scribe of righteousness was to bring the message of judgment, but also to offer the chance of redemption. This is the divine mercy we must never forget. No matter how far we fall, God is always waiting for us to return. And here lies the beauty of Enoch's mission. He wasn't just a messenger of judgment, he was a bearer of hope. Through his actions, through his obedience to God's calling, he became a beacon of divine justice and mercy. He was the bridge that connected heaven to earth, and through him we see that no one is beyond the reach of God's love and grace. This is the message we need to carry in our own lives. We may be surrounded by sin, by corruption, by chaos, but we, like Enoch, are called to be messengers of divine righteousness. We are called to carry the message of hope, the message that no matter how far we fall, there is always a way back to God. Just as Enoch stood as a beacon of divine justice, we too can stand as witnesses to God's grace and mercy. The cosmic reset, Enoch's prophecy of the flood. But Enoch's journey didn't stop with the judgment of the Watchers. God showed him the future, the fate of the world, and what Enoch saw was terrifying. He saw the great flood, a divine reset of the earth. The corruption brought by the Watchers, the Nephilim, and the wickedness of humanity had reached a point where God could no longer allow it to continue. The world had to be cleansed, and Enoch was shown the timeline of this cosmic reset, the prophecy that would change everything. Enoch's prophecy of the flood wasn't just about a punishment for sin, it was about a new beginning. God was not simply destroying the earth, he was preparing it for restoration. The flood would wash away the corruption, the violence, and the destruction that had taken root in the world. But even in this devastating judgment, there was hope. Enoch saw that through the flood, a righteous man, Noah, would be saved. And from Noah's line, humanity would have a second chance. This is where we find our greatest lesson. The flood wasn't the end, it was a beginning. The destruction of the old world wasn't the end of God's plan. It was the preparation for something new, something better. God's judgment isn't about destruction. It's about purification, about clearing the way for something greater. And just as the flood came to cleanse the earth, so too does God's grace come to cleanse our hearts. Enoch's prophecy speaks to us today. In our own lives, we may face moments of judgment, moments of cleansing, moments when everything seems to fall apart. But in those moments, remember that God is not destroying us. He is purifying us, preparing us for something greater. Just as the flood was a new beginning for humanity, so too can our struggles, our challenges, and our moments of brokenness be the beginning of a new chapter in our lives. Enoch's journey teaches us that no matter how dark the world may seem, there is always hope for redemption. There is always a path to restoration. And even when we face judgment, even when we face the floodwaters of life, God is preparing us for something greater. Enoch's prophecy is a reminder that through every trial, every challenge, every moment of purification, God is working to bring us closer to his divine purpose. Enoch's role as the messenger of divine justice. Enoch's life wasn't just about walking with God, it was about becoming the mouthpiece of heaven, the divine messenger chosen to pronounce judgment on the celestial beings who had betrayed their sacred duty. His calling was unlike any other. He was chosen not because of his status or strength, but because of his unwavering faith, his obedience to God's will, and his deep connection to the divine. God had a purpose for Enoch, a purpose that would forever change the course of the spiritual and physical realms. Picture this. Enoch, a man with no power, no army, standing before a host of fallen angels, the Watchers, whose strength and authority had once been unmatched. These were beings who had once stood at the very gates of heaven, trusted with guarding creation. Now they were broken, shamed by their sin and rebellion, their once beautiful forms now corrupted by their choices. And Enoch, he wasn't afraid. He stood before them as the appointed scribe of righteousness, tasked with delivering God's final judgment. He wasn't speaking for himself. He was speaking for the Almighty. Every word he uttered carried the weight of heaven. Imagine the tension in the air as Enoch, a mere mortal, read the divine decree to these powerful celestial beings. The Watchers, once revered and feared, now had no voice. They were silent, humiliated by their actions, and Enoch, in his obedience, became the instrument of divine justice. This moment was a turning point in the spiritual realm. No longer would the Watchers remain unchallenged. Enoch's words were not just a verdict. They were a call for restoration, a plea for the celestial realm to return to its rightful order. But here's where we see the true power of God's justice. Even in the face of such corruption, there was still room for redemption. Enoch, as the messenger, didn't merely declare the fall of the angels, he also carried with him the possibility of forgiveness. God's judgment wasn't about destruction, it was about purification, a chance for these beings to return to their divine calling. In the same way, we too are called to be vessels of justice and mercy. Just as Enoch stood as the messenger of divine order, we are called to stand firm in our faith, to deliver God's truth, and to offer hope even in the darkest of times. Enoch's role wasn't just as a judge, he was a beacon of hope, a reminder that no matter how far one falls, there is always a path back to righteousness. His story is a testament to the power of obedience and the strength of standing firm in God's will, even when faced with immense opposition. In our own lives, we are called to be the same, messengers of God's truth, bearers of justice, but also vessels of mercy. Enoch's mission was not just to bring judgment, it was to offer a chance for redemption. And that's the power of divine justice. It brings restoration, not just punishment. The prophecy of the Great Flood, a cosmic reset. Enoch didn't just witness the past and present, he was shown the future. The visions he received were not just revelations of the angels' fall, but also a glimpse into the fate of humanity and the world itself. Enoch's prophecy was dark, but it was also filled with hope. He saw the Great Flood, the cleansing of the earth, the resetting of creation. The flood wasn't just a consequence of sin, it was God's way of purging the corruption that had taken root in the world. It was a divine reset. Think about it. And the world as it stood was beyond saving. The Nephilim, the giants born of the fallen angels, had corrupted the earth. Violence, chaos, and sin ran rampant. Humanity had lost its way, and creation itself groaned under the weight of its corruption. And then God decided to cleanse the earth, to start anew. But this wasn't a story of destruction. It was a story of renewal. The flood wasn't about wiping out the world. It was about purging the sin and making way for a new creation. Enoch's prophecy of the flood is one of the most powerful moments in the Bible, and yet it's often overlooked. The flood wasn't just a natural disaster. It was a divine judgment, yes, but it was also an opportunity. An opportunity for Noah and his family to survive, to carry on the lineage of righteousness. The flood was the divine reset button, a chance for humanity to start over. And through this act of purification, God offered the world a chance to rebuild, a chance to turn away from sin and return to Him. But here's the powerful truth that lies within this story. Even in the face of such devastating judgment, God was preparing a way forward. The flood wasn't the end of the world. It was the beginning of something new. And that's the heart of God's plan. Even when we face moments of destruction, even when we feel like everything is falling apart, God is at work, preparing something better. The flood wasn't just an act of judgment, it was a step toward redemption. It was the purging of sin and the restoration of order. In our own lives, we may go through seasons of struggle, seasons where everything feels like it's falling apart. But remember this, God is always working behind the scenes, preparing us for something greater. Just as the flood was a divine reset, so too can our challenges and trials serve as opportunities for growth and transformation. When we face hardship, we can take comfort in knowing that God is not only purging us of sin and corruption, but is also preparing us for a new beginning. Enoch's prophecy of the flood is a reminder that sometimes, before we can experience the fullness of God's blessing, we must first go through a time of cleansing. It's not always easy, and it may not always be comfortable, but it's part of God's divine plan to purify us, to prepare us for the greatness He has in store for us. Just as Noah and his family emerged from the flood to build a new world, we too can emerge from our struggles stronger and more faithful, ready to fulfill the purpose God has set before us. Enoch's story is more than just an ancient tale. It's a living message. It's a call to look beyond the trials of today and see the divine purpose behind them. It's a reminder that even when the world seems broken, God is at work, preparing a new creation. Through Enoch's eyes, we see the truth. God's judgment is not just about destruction, it's about purification, about making us ready for what's to come. And in that, we find our hope. As we close the pages of Enoch's journey, the truth that emerges is nothing short of earth-shattering. This isn't just the story of one man, one moment in time. It's a message for every soul, every heart, every spirit that's ever felt lost, broken, or searching. Enoch's story isn't confined to ancient scriptures. It speaks to the here and now, to our lives today. His path, walking with God, wasn't just a fleeting moment in history. It is a blueprint, an invitation for us to walk that same path, to hear the whispers of the divine calling us to a life of purpose, of righteousness, and of unimaginable peace. When Enoch ascended into the heavens, what he witnessed was a divine tapestry, a grand design of creation. From the stars to the earth, from angels to humans, everything was connected, everything had a purpose. And what if I told you that this same divine plan is still at work today? That everything, even the trials we face, is part of a greater story being written. Enoch's journey was about discovering his place in this story, just as we must discover ours. But as we look at the world around us, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. The chaos, the darkness, the constant noise, it all pulls us away from the truth. We get lost in the distractions of daily life, in the struggle to survive, in the fight to find meaning. But let Enoch's story remind you, you are part of something greater. You were created with purpose. And just like Enoch, you are invited to walk with God, to listen to his voice, to let him guide you through the darkness. When the world seems overwhelming, when the weight of life is too much to bear, remember that you are not alone. Enoch's story proves that there is a divine plan for each of us, one that's woven into the very fabric of existence. Now let's take a moment to reflect. How many times have we let the distractions of life keep us from the truth? How many times have we turned away from the divine invitation only to feel lost and uncertain? But just like the fallen angels who were given the chance to repent, we too are given the opportunity to return. God's grace is always waiting, always ready to restore what was lost. And like Enoch, we can be vessels of that grace, messengers of divine love, in a world that desperately needs it. As you reflect on Enoch's journey, ask yourself, are you ready to walk that path with God? Are you ready to hear his voice calling you to something greater? We're all walking through this life, but it's not just about surviving. It's about aligning ourselves with the divine plan, just as Enoch did. His story is a reminder that there's more to life than meets the eye, that the struggles we face are not meaningless. They're part of a greater design. You were created for something beautiful, something powerful, something eternal. I believe that if you're here, listening to this message, it's not by chance. Something in your spirit is resonating with this truth. Maybe you're searching for answers. Maybe you're wondering where you fit in this vast, chaotic world. Know this, you have a divine purpose. Just like Enoch, you're being invited to walk in alignment with God's plan. And when you do, you'll find peace, joy, and fulfillment beyond anything this world can offer. If you feel that this video has brought light to your heart, if it's spoken to your soul in a way that resonates deeply, I invite you to support this journey. Every like, every comment, every subscription is more than just a click. It's a step toward creating a community where we can all walk in the light of God's truth. Your support helps keep this message alive, helps us share the love of God with others, and brings healing to hearts that need it most. I don't take this for granted, and I'm beyond grateful for every one of you who has joined me on this path. If you feel that this message has made a difference in your life, I ask you to consider supporting this channel in any way you can. Your energy, your encouragement, your belief in this message, it means more than words can express. Let's continue to walk this journey together, uncovering more truths, more revelations, and more of God's love along the way. And if this video has sparked something in you, if it's made you reflect on your own walk with God, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. How has Enoch's journey inspired you? What lessons can you take from his story and apply to your own life? Thank you from the deepest part of my heart for being here, for sharing in this journey, and for continuing to seek God's truth. Together, we're uncovering a greater purpose. Together, we're creating a space for healing, for growth, and for divine connection. Let's keep walking this path, side by side, supporting each other with love, with grace, and with unwavering faith in the plan God has for each of us.